Hello everybody, welcome back to the Artisan of Glimmith. 182 solved now. As our little island loads up, we have this route here on the left. A couple of puzzles we've not done from the other areas, but I'm very happy progressing as we are. All regions must be one of these shapes. Neighbouring regions must have different shapes. So that's going to go square and square. That's going to go line, square and line. So far, simple enough, but I can see that getting a lot more complicated a lot more quickly. Now, having ones seems like it would help. Immediately, well, that's a 1. Now there's a hard line here. So it must be 2, 4, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Three and 2. Well, this does not have to be... no, this does have to be together. Does it? Because it can't be... it could be that. There you go. And then, wow. All of that opens up to us. 4 of 12 and 4 of 20. Anything hiding around here? There's one there. There's one there. For later. Well, I suppose I don't need... there's one hiding in that building there. Cute. There's one back there, but that might belong to this. Probably. One there. Alright, well, let's just progress as we are with the stuff that's closest. 2s and 1s. 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1. And 1 and 2. And 1 and 1 and 2. And 1 and 2. Sometimes it just feels as simple as following the instruction you're given. These can all be different. We don't have a requirement on what does and does not exist. But obviously, part of my brain was like, what if we just filled this in? But the lines are unavailable for that. So if this is 3, we can't do a T there. That could be an L. We can actually go that big. Close. But that has to come out to here. Those two can't touch. Because they're the same region, or the same shape. So, let's go back to the drawing board here. We can highlight all of that. So, they can't all be 1s. These can't be 1s, so they must join together. These can't be 1s, so they must join together. These can't be 1s, so they must join together, but they can't be touching these that are the same. So that gets us to very close to where we just were. Oh, no. That must come out of here. I think this must be alone. Oh, hold on, hold on. That could be a 2. That couldn't be a 4, because these are singles. That can't be a 1. And I'm just back to where I started again. Right, this one can't be touching either of those ones. This one can be touching a 1. Now we've got the same thing we had earlier, except these are rotated to the top end of being a problem. My brain is just not as keyed in for this, apparently. On a difficulty 2 puzzle. Where can it go? This cannot be touching a 1, so it must come out. That's just a given. This cannot be touching a 1, so it must come out. This cannot be touching a 1, so it must come out. These can't be the same region because of this wall. And I'm back here again. Alright, get me away from that. Neighbouring regions must have different shapes. Regions depicted in regions must have those regions. So we have to do that to make sure these don't touch. Then we can do 2, that, and the rest are 1s. That's fine. I can do that. Oh, jeez. They really need a lot going on here, don't they? So there's going to have to be other shapes that prevent all of this stuff from just being one thing. Where would the first one go? Because that can't neighbour this and this. Okay, I like that, because then this can be a different shape. That's valid too. Then we can do a 2, a 1, and a 2. Okay, I'm starting to see it. This, and this have to be different. So then how do we build this? It looks something like that, but it can't be because this can't touch there. So it would have to be this to not touch. This would have to be this, and that's that. Just join those ones together in the middle. Okay. Three, 3, 4, 2. Right, look at these in the center here. I think it's either that or the inverse is true. But the inverse can't be true because of this piece. So we are going to do this and this. That. Huh. Now I can't make this be part of one. What? What? How do I do the one in the corner then? Reset me. That can either be that or that. It's close, but this guy breaks it. Yeah. How do we get these to be neighbors? I can't do that. This grid of these feels too packed in together. Now this can't work on the opposing side. There's some other way to do these. There is, I don't see it. It can't be this. Which leaves this. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Then this guy doesn't make sense to me. That's... excuse me. It's very unexpected, and I don't know what to make of it. Ah. I could do this, but then this can't work, so no. It just feels like it's about keeping all of the corners disparate from one another. Hold on. Maybe these two don't have to be in pairs. Or within the same grouping. That could do a lot, couldn't it? That leaves you awkwardly there. These two make the most sense to me, because this uses free space that doesn't interact with anything else. So, let's put boxes around that. We know that this can't be part of one of these. Neither can that. Because if this touches that, it's touching that. Equally, neither can either of those. So, colouring these in is not helping my brain as much as I thought it might. These two, I can't see a way to not have them be in the same group. Because they can't, this one can't escape from that one in any way that means this can then become its own region. So that I'm pretty confident about. It's this guy here that's the real problem. There's a deduction I must be missing. We are not making fast progress today. These can't be borders. Therefore, this can't exist. This must be how this exists. This could hypothetically do this, except then it can't touch that. So that must exist. This can't exist, because that has to touch. So that must exist. This can't exist, because that would be next to it. This can't exist, because that would be next to it. Neither of these can have tiles. Neither can this, neither can this, neither can that. Because they're all borders of the established pieces. So then I have this space to work with. Oh, I see it and I feel dumb. It was just this being a 2 for here. Alright. 3, 4, there's a 2. Oh, that's the one we just did. 3, 2. 2s, 4s, and 6s. Well, that must be a 2. That must be a 4. Now, this could be another 4 and a 2, which would put this having to be a 6. Because if we do this is the 6, then this tile would have to be another 6, and that can't be. And if it's a 4, it can't be. And if it's a 2, it can't be. So I like this. So this can't be a 2 or a 6, so it has to be a 4. This can't be a 6 or a 4, so it has to be a 2. It can't go horizontally, otherwise it would be a 2 into another 2. This could be a 4 or a 6. This has to be a 4. If that's a 2, that has to be a 6, that has to be a 4. No. Hold on. This has to be a 2. Can't be that, because that would become the only way to fill that in. So it has to be that. This has to be a 2, because it's the only way to fill in that gap. Then this can be a 6 and that can be a 2. Or the whole thing can be a 6. Don't have a specific way to tell yet. I think this has to be a 4, because it's touching this and this. Which means that's a 4, that's a 6, that's... No! Oh, that could be... That can't be a 6. Can't be a 2. Can't be a 4. Where am I going wrong here? That has to be a 4, because it can't be a 2 and a 2, and it can't be a 6 because this blocks that in. This has to be... Well, we could do that instead. No, we couldn't, because this... Oh, we could do that. Okay. Bit of a learned divergence rather than logic, but I'm not beyond it. It's not one where we have to follow exact moves every single time. So this could be a 4 and a 2, or a 6. Over here, that would have to be straight, that would have to be a 6, that would be straight, and that would be a 4. Then that would be a 2. That would be a 4. That would be a 6. That would be a 2. That would be a 2. That would be a 4. This would be a 6. Alright, we got there. So, little chevron, big chevron, little chevron, little chevron, little chevron, big chevron. Come on, you know the words. Big chevron, little chevron, little chevron, big chevron, little chevron. Simple. 'Twas a 1 after all. We need 2 more. Hooks and bars. There's a bar. How on earth do we do only hooks around the whole of this without the hooks touching each other? Because it can't ever be a bar. What? It can't be this. But I don't understand how I can surround this in hooks without the hooks touching each other and it not being bars. That makes no sense to me at all. Okay, it does. It does make sense to me. The corners don't have to be bars. Got it. That's right. The corners don't have to be hooks. The corners can be bars. Tricky. There's one in the tree there. 3. Another 2. 1 here. This has to be a 3, because it can't be a 1, and it can't be a 3 by 3. So, lock that in. That means this has to be a 1, and this has to be a 3 by 3. Shoot that up there. Then that doesn't work, does it? Because this is now touching a 1 and a 3, but it can't be a 3 by 3. Okay. Well. Question mark. This can't be a 3 because it's touching that. Could be a 1. Have to be a 1 because it can't be a 3 by 3 in that gap. This is touching that and that, so it has to be part of a 3 by 3. Therefore, this has to be a 3 by 3. Therefore, that has to be a 3. And I've lost it again. Because if this is a 1, this can't be a 3. I'm baffled. This is a 1, this is a 3. This is a 1, this is a 3 by 3. Can't be. Because this can't be a 3 and a 1 like that. I feel like my route must be correct, and yet something's telling me it's not. Well, I can do a 1 there, and then a 3 up. Then a 1 here, and a 1 there. Okay. Then that has to be a 3 by 3. Then that can be a 1 and a 3 out. Except I think I need that to be a 3 so that that can be a 3. Except I can't do 1 and 1 there. That has to be a 3 because it's touching a 9 and a 1. That has to be a 3 because it's touching a 9 and a 1. That has to be a 1 because it's touching a 9 and a 3. That probably means this is a 3 by 3. That's a 1. How do we fill out the rest? 1, 3, 1, and 1. Okay, we got it, we got it, we got it. It was this assumption here that I got wrong. Restore the mingle shape window. Right, obviously we still want to gild it. So, I think we're out of... Oh, we did that one. I don't know why I think that one isn't done. It's 2 back here, a 4 and a 6. Jeez. Jiminy Cricket. Alright, so 3s. 1s and hooks. In this space, how can we populate it where 2 1s don't have to touch? I think it's this. That could go up or down. That has to be a 1 and a 1. Then this can't go this way because this is touching a 1 and a 3. So it has to be, nope. Got him. Sheesh. That's a lot going on. Can't be that. Okay. We can have free shapes. We can make free areas. They don't all have to be committed to these designs. So that has to go there. Which means... I mean... that has to come out. If it goes up, this can't exist. So it has to go to here. Then... that can either go a couple ways. Can't go that way because it touches that. Can't go that way because it touches that. So it has to be this way, I believe. That has to go up and over because it's the only way we can put that shape in there. Now, that can go there. But it makes more sense, I think, to do this, except that doesn't work. Because you're hooked in over there, so that must be here then. So this can't go up, it must come down, perhaps over there. That's a long one. That's a short one. That's a long one. Good. Alright, we're slowly getting there. 1 and 3. And 4. How do we do all 3 of these corners? We just make sure that there's a line of these singles to break it up. This one's hiding in the bushes. All regions must be 1 and 3, but it's just a figure it out for yourself. There is no starting point here. So it's a 5 by 5, so it is symmetrical. So basically, it's going to be Not quite that. How do the wands never touch? That's close, but the middle becomes a problem. Is there ever a world where the points point outside? I don't think so, because then we end up with wider stretches that I can't deal with. Oh, very pretty. And then we can just wire those up. Nice. 16 of 20. Neighbouring shapes must have different shapes, but everything must have one of each colour. We've got red, yellow, and blue. Red, yellow, and blue is free. Red, blue, and one of the yellows. Has to be this one, because if it's this one, it makes two straight lines. However, we can't do this because that makes two chevrons that touch. Red, yellow, blue. Red, blue, yellow. Ow. I can't have those touch. How can I make another shape? Oh. We could do something really long to pick up our yellow. That can be a 4. Yellow, blue, red. Yeah, it was just seeing that this didn't have to be collated. We could go long in that direction. Same style. This red and this red are going to be on opposing sides. Obviously, the temptation is to do that, but they're the same shape. So then what? I ask you. This red and that. Or we could do red. How do we split the colours over? Is it going to be the yellows? Yellow, purple, blue. Green, red. Is it this Oh, we can't do that because it has to have the gems in it. Of course it does. Okay. Those are different. These are different. Not necessarily the same different. Oh. Is that... Oh, it's also the same. Okay. Can I do something about this? That does the colours, it doesn't do the symmetry. So we gave up the blue, gained blue. It's these non-symmetrical yellows that are so intriguing. Red, blue, green. That's the same. You can't... excuse you. You can't take that. I don't see the move. Again, there are like 5s that I've solved super fast, and here's a 3 that I'm like, I don't know. If we look at this line, right, something has to cross that line. Can it be anything else apart from the green-blue divide? Well, let's do this. This red must take a blue. If it's not this one, it's that one. It can't take this purple, because that purple can never get to a group. But we've discovered that this is symmetrical. Purple. Purple, blue, green, yellow, red. Leaves that on the wrong side. Purple, blue, green, yellow, red. Got him. Lovely. We struck out on this earlier. T shapes, L shapes, long T's. I don't see what I can do in this center. Can't be this, because it leaves a load of 1s next to each other. I still feel like most of this has to be true. That leaves the 1s together. Still don't see it. We got loads of other puzzles. There's something hiding in the windmill. I could just see this faint spire of light right here. I would not have seen you otherwise. Holy. Well, does this seem that bad? It's just about deciding where our start is. Because a lot of these 4s... Well, we can't do that because that's going to touch that. So are they going to have to run vertically? We can use other shapes. Important to remember that. We can use other shapes. Can't do that, but we can do this. Can't do that, but we can do this. That's a 4, that's a 3. That's a 3, that's a 3. That's a 4, that's a 4, but it touches. That's a 4, that's a 3. That's a 3. But it touches there. Yeah, then it all just comes unstuck, doesn't it? Three and 4. 3. 3. Yeah, it just all becomes unstuck at that point. It's so interesting how they present the 3s vertically and the 4s horizontally, even though neither of them is subject to a rotational fix. Right, let's start on this top left edge. This cannot exist next to that. So I believe this must be how this exists. Now this 4 long can't exist next to this 4 long. Therefore, I believe this must exist. Because if we do it lower, it touches this, which is no good. So I think it must be that. Lock it in. The same story seems to be true with all of the horizontal 4s up till here, apparently. Which I think we had set as the basis of our previous solve. If this is 4, it can't join up to that, so I think this still has to be vertical. If these are vertical, that can't go to there. So I think this has to be horizontal, this has to be horizontal. And then we go 3, 3, 3, 3. 4, 3. 3, 3, 4. Color everything in, or give everything a wire, and let the negative space solve itself. Lovely. That was you, I think. All shapes are 2s and 3s. Well, interesting that immediately, that's interesting to me. But, oh, okay, well, this is 6 long. How are we going to build something that is 6 long? It's going to have to be 2, a 3, and then another 2 somewhere at the top. Because it can't be a 1 and a 3 and a 2. Could it be a 3, a 2? It could be a 3, a 2, and a 3. Okay. In fact, it has to be because of this 2 here. Alright, lock that in. That means this is 3, this is 2, this is 3, this is 2. Nope. What? This can't be a 3, because it makes an odd piece there. So that has to be a 2. This has to be a 3, has to be a 2. If this is a 2, this has to be a pair of 3s. But this can't be a pair of 2s. So I am misunderstanding something. But I still think fundamental... Oh, wait. No, this can't be a 2 because it leaves a 1. This can't be a 3 because it leaves a 1, so this must be a 2. Right? That could be a 3. That could be a 2. That could be a 3. That could be a 2. That could be a 3. That's how we get out of there. Cool. 3 and 2. 2. 2. 3. 2. But now we have this. Can't be a 2. Oh, that could be a 3. That has to be the 2. Yep. Got him. Did that open up? Oh, yeah, it must have opened up another puzzle. Oh, because we did our silver. 11 more to get to our gold frame. Okay, we're not making terrible time. We've sped up a reasonable amount, but now we get a gift of a 2. Everything must be in these shapes. Immediately I'm drawn to this section here because there's going to have to be a star somewhere. But instead, let's look at this corner. This can't be a star because it leaves a 1. This can't be a hook because it leaves a space that it can't be. Therefore, that must be the hook. That must be a star. Hook. Star. Hook. Star. Hook. Inverse hook. Star. Couple hooks. Simple one, which we expect out of a 2. 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 5, 4, 4, 6. 4 back there. So, still plenty of puzzles. Anything hiding underneath? These are around here now. They definitely weren't there before. Right, let's stick to the main land here. 1s, 2s, and 3s. Well, those are 1s. That means this can't be a 1. So, has to be a 3 that way. That means that has to be a 3 that way. Then I think that has to be this. That can be a 1. That can be a 1. Then can we just do... This can't be touching a 2. There you go. I was just trying to figure out where I could touch something to this, which is a single, then a pair of 2s on its flanks. 9 more to do. Good grief. Well, first of all, that must be a shape, because there's no other way to orient that and have 2 of these being different and touching. Now, this could be this, or it could be this, except it can't be that because that is touching it. So, that's a group. This can't be a pair of 4s because this then gets caught in the middle. So, that has to be there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's too long. Bad assumption. This can be long. And that can be long in a different space. In fact, it can be completely different to that again. So what I'm looking at here is this can't touch this. So therefore, that must be at least 3 sides of this. That doesn't have room to get out, so it's going to be that. Then there's 4. There's 4. There's a T. There's a different T. There's an L. Good. What else have we got? Another 3. Everything must be these. How do you design puzzles like this? Is it like you just have the brain for it and then put them together with checking and double checking? Or is it possible to kind of give an algorithm the shapes and say, make this where it's only solvable in one path? Because puzzle games like this have existed long before the AI boom, you know? Right. This can't exist because it makes a dead end. So it either has to be that or that. I think it has to be this, because if it's this, we can't fill in this space with what we have left. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Great start. Now, this has to exist with 1 more in one direction or the other. Let's count. everything is 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if this goes over to here, that would have to be that, and it can't touch, or it would be that and makes a break. So this goes up, and then in here somewhere, there are the 2 different shapes that we can work with. That's then got to go... No, yeah. I was going to say these 2 cells are touching those 2, but we can divide them up. Otherwise, then get an L there, and a Z to finish. 4, 4, 6, 4, 4, 5, 4. That 2 that I still can't understand. 3, but we've got blue and reds. Neighbours must have different shapes. Of course, that's the whole theme of the day. What now? Great question. This could touch that, or it could touch that. This could touch that, or it could touch that. Same here. That would be 2. Okay, let's think about these 2. Can this exist with only shapes that are unique around it? In a word, I don't believe so. And that is more than one word. I concede this fact to you, dear viewer. So where's our in? I feel like I like this a lot, because it gives a reasonably large, unique shape. It's that, then this becomes a 2. If it's that, then this becomes a 2. That can be a 3, that can be a 2. This can't be a 2 with what's left over. Yeah, the 2s here kill it in the center. We need more interesting ways to make this kind of section here have shapes that are unique, that aren't just 2 bars, while everything is presented in possibilities of just existing as 2s, which is no good to us. Again, this begins to look okay, but we end up on this 2 again. And then that 2. So how can we get these 3 reds to be paired with a blue that don't just become 2s? Now we're 1 blue short on the right-hand side. Because we go there, there, this is left alone. Where's the logic in for this? 'Tis a mystery. Can't do that, because then this ends up as a bunch of 2x2s. Yeah, this is a nightmare. These 4 in the center need unique outs, which looks like that. Which gives that as a 2. And we can't do that because then this, well, this has to be a 2. If this is long, then that would have to be a 2. We got it. Four down there. 2, I don't understand. 4, 5, 4. 4, 6. 5 hiding back there. 4 back here. How many more? 6 to get to gold. I mean, I'm hoping there's at least 6 puzzles I haven't even looked at yet. 2s, 3s, and 4s. Here's a 2. Here's a 3. That means this has got to be a 4. It's just a gimme. Is it a gimme? Hold on. If this was a 3, that would be a 2. Then we couldn't fill in the gap. But I don't love what I'm seeing, because we can't have this 3. Can't have this 2 by 2. Is this right? I can't do this. I simply cannot. But this just doesn't feel like it works at all. Am I missing something crucial here? If this was a 2, that could be a 3. Okay. Then this would have to be part of a 2 by 2, and it can't be. So that's out. What move am I missing? This as a 2. There you go. There's the move. So that has to be a 2 by 2 because it's touching those. 2 by 2, 3. Then, if this is correct, none of these can touch a 3. So a 3 can't run upright. Well, start with this. That would have to be a 2. That would have to be a 2 by 2. That's the 3. That's another 2 by 2. That's a 2. That's a 3. That's a 2. That's a 2. And we get the top and bottom. Good. There's a 4. Here's a 4. There's a 4. Everywhere a 4, 4. Oh boy. 1, 1, 1, 1. Lock those in. It seems strange to highlight those as ones rather than just making them negative space in the puzzle. But I guess if they were negative space in the puzzle, I could do this and use up other space, which kind of makes sense. So this can't be a 2, has to be a 3. That has to be a 2. That has to be a 3. That's the only way we can make a 3 get into that zone, region. That's a 2, that's a 3. That's a 2, that's a 1. Pretty happy with all of this so far. This can't be a 1. This has to be containing a 2. If it's this, we can't do that. If it's this, we can't do that, but we can do that. Is that valid? 2. No. 1. Can't be 2 here next to that, so I think something here isn't right. Let's look at this guy. It can't be an L that way because it touches this, so that's no good. Can't be an L this way because it touches those, so that's no good. Therefore, the only other option is that. That doesn't make sense to me. Oh no, it's not the only other option. That's an option as well. This does begin to make sense to me because the other way, we couldn't make a 2 and a 1 here or anything to clear that up. So there's a 2, there's a 2, there's a 1. But now we can't do these 2s here like this. Because I can't have these 2s touching. So back to here where I thought I was good. I can do it that way. That's a 2, that's a 2, that's a 2. 1, 1, 1. No. Hilarious, it all falls down. Let's go back to here then. This can't be a hook. This can't... Could be a 1. Can't be a 2. Must be a 1. This can't be a 1 or a 2. Must be a hook. So far, I'm pretty happy with all the logic that gets to here. Then I'm just not seeing the in for this over here. This can't be that. Two and a 1. Can't be a 2 there. But can't be a 2 here. Two. That can't be a hook. Alright. We have to back this up a bit, I think. This can't be a 1, can't be a 2, has to be a hook. This hook can't touch these squares. Could hook either way over that. If you hook this way, then with 1s and 2s, I can't fill in this gap. I need a hook to fill that gap in. Except I can't do this corner that way Oh, wait. I'm being down. No, I can't. How did I do this before? Maybe this way my assumption was wrong. Or if you prefer, my logic was bad. So, this can't touch that, can't touch that. Therefore, it's either going this way. Basically, of these, either this, this, or this is missing. No, it would have to be one of those. We can do top right missing, bottom right missing. But no, we can do only 3 of those. So one of those 3 tiles is missing. The other 2 belong to the hook. So that's Schrodinger's hook. If this is a 1, it's actually going to have to be a 2. We could do it that way. And this. Then that has to be a 2. That has to be a 2. That has to be a hook. Didn't we just get here? Weren't we here moments ago? That has to be a 2 if it's touching this 3 and that 1. These 2 can't be touching. This can't be a pair of 1s. Maybe that's where I went wrong. I didn't have this structured this way, I believe. Got it. Okay. 27 of 31. Lots of 2s, but no rules to say we can't make odd, weird, funky shapes, which is always lovely. Where's our start? Well, if this goes up, this goes across. And this can also go across, or this can go down. So that's not very much help to me. These 2 here can't be neighbors. So this can't go this way. This can't go this way. This can't go this way. Therefore, that goes that way. Now, what shape? No. That goes that way. Because I don't know how I dismiss this as an option, but it can't go that way, can't go that way. If we do this, then that can't touch there. That can't also exist as a group. So that's our start. Then I think that becomes that shape. That has to go left or down because it can't go to the right. So we can draw that line in because it can't touch this. Equally, this can't go up because it touches that, so we can draw this. This could go left. Where's our next logic to be found? This can't go up. That must be there. It goes right, then that goes down, then that goes left. Doesn't seem to be a problem, but isn't a solution using logic. Let's look at this corridor here. If this goes left, we can do 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And then 1 and 1 doesn't work. So that has to go down, I believe. This doesn't work because this space can't exist. Because we can't have a 2 here. I could do... No, I can't do that because that can't go up. So you must go down. And you must go right. That can't... Okay. Scratch all of that. This can't do this because that can't also be 2 in the middle. So it has to be that with a pair of 1s in it. Therefore, that has to go down. And that breaks. What am I missing about this corner? This option. Probably. Yeah, we're missing that option, aren't we? Okay. You can't go left. You could go up. You can't go down. So we can draw those in. This can't be a 2 next to this 2 and that 2. So that's probably this, that, single, this, that. Except now this doesn't have a buddy. If you go across, you go across, you go across. You can't go up, down, left, anywhere there. You go down. You can't go down, you can't go across, you can't go up. You can't go left, you can't go up. You have to go right. Means you have to go down. Means you have to go left. Oh, there was a little tiny bit of negative space that let us get all those 2s in. Good. 28 of 31. 3 more. That's a 5. That's a 6. That's a 4. 1s, 2s, and 3s all over. This can't be a 3 because it touches that, so that's a 2. That has to be a 3 because it touches the 1 and the 2. That has to be a 2. That has to be a 1 and a 2. That has to be a 1 and a 2. That means this has to be a 3. Does it? No. Hold on. Either this can be the 3, or this can be the 3. This can't go left and up, so that has to go down. I can't have this space left. Don't know why I had that way being the way it was, but we got there. Some mistake that I fixed down the line, apparently. You're done, aren't you? Yeah. What do we have left? You're done. 5 back there. 6 there. 5 there. This 2 that I can't understand. Anything else hiding? Four in here. Good grief, buddy. Good grief. I've got an itch that I cannot scratch, and it's infuriating my brain, and there's nothing I can do about it. Aren't they just the worst? Okay. Where does the logic begin? I think it's in these 3 shapes here. How can I pack these into this space? Because if I do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, this can't exist anymore. So it could be this into that. Is there any way we could rotate this and still have it be valid? No. So I think this is correct. And this. Which means that cell must be part of a T. These two are touching T in pyramid, so that has to be walkie-talkie. How can I put this T here? Can't be there. Could be there. That gives walkie-talkie. Can't be walkie-talkie. How do we do this T? Can't be there. Could be there with pyramid on the side. If this is a 1, I would say that has to be walkie-talkie, but no. It has to be pyramid. And that's not walkie-talkie? Oh no. Because this can go there. And this tile can be stairs. Which means that has to be a plus. And that stairs that doesn't touch this. There's another T. I think we're basically there now, aren't we? Because we can do walkie-talkie there. Walkie-talkie there. And stairs remain in the negative space. Right, I feel like we've definitely got our eye in for this type of puzzle now. 6, 5. This guy that we need one more. I would love for it to be this, because this has haunted me all episode. They just all have to be different. This cannot be a 1. Therefore, it must protrude, and it cannot leave that gap. This cannot be a 1, must protrude, cannot leave that gap. These cannot be the same shape. This was a T. We could have 2 there, but then that leaves that, which can't be. Can't leave 2 1s either. I think this wall must exist. Which means that wall can't exist. Oh my god, look at that ugly shape that is allowed to exist. That's devious. This humongous thing in the middle. Alright, we get to 31. We didn't even do 5 or 6 or 5. And we now have a smattering of other puzzles here. And other puzzles there. And this here. I don't know how this is quite going to progress, if this is one area or not. These all have this kind of metal wheel underneath the frames as like a pedestal. So if we look over here, this one has it, this one doesn't. So it looks like we've got that one there, all of its own. So that looks like the next section to work on. Who do you belong to? Oh, you're the half puzzle I didn't do. I remember. All right, well, since we're on a roll, we haven't become unstuck yet. Let's take a look at some of these. That's a 1. That's a 1. This must be a 2 to get out of the gap. Therefore, this is at least this, if not top and sides. Therefore, that's going to be, excuse me, a 1. That's going to be a 2. This can't be a 2 or a 1, so that has to be this. Therefore, that is a... Oh, we could do a 1 there. That's fine. But this has to be the 6. That's got to be the 2. That's got to be a 2. That's got to be a 1. That's got to be a 1. And we've broken it because I can't do... Oh no, I can do 2 there. I can keep reaching upwards. Just when I thought we'd given up the ghost. That has to be a 1, therefore that has to be a 2. Therefore, that has to be that. That has to be another 1. Therefore, that's a 2, that's a 1, and that's a 2. It feels like it's going too well. That seems to make the most sense, because there's no way we could do a 1 and a 2, or a 1 and a 1. It could go this way with a 2, though. So there's this, and possibly that, possibly this. Because that 2 would be free to make, this 2 would be free to make. In fact, it can't be this, because this can't be a pair of 1s. Although it could be that. It could be that. But this can't be a 6, so it's not that. So that is the 6. That is a 2. That has to be another 6. Nope. A 1? And a 2? No. Oh, we were doing so well. Weren't we? That would have to be there. Oh, I thought we were going to just cruise into our finish here. It was so close. Where did we go wrong? I still like this. If this is a 1, this is a 6. This could be a 6. And then we can do a 1, a 2, and a 1. And then a 1, a 2, and a 6. There you go. That's where we went wrong slightly. Not bad for a 5. Oh, lordy. Right, there are no restrictions on which types of pieces we can use. Only the areas on the board that we must use them. So, where do you begin? Great, great question. This cannot be a 1. That cannot be a 1. So that must be a group of the same. This cannot be a trio. And it can't be a T. So I think it has to be that at the minimum. Which is already an interesting start. That can't be a 1. That can't be a hook. That can't be a hook. That can't be a T because it touches this. This can't be a 1, so I think that has to exist like that. This could keep sprawling off in all kinds of directions, though. This can't be a 1, so it must touch something else. Can't be a 2 to touch that, so it has to do at least this. Can't touch that, so it must do at least this. That becomes a 2. So far, I'm happy with what we have built. This could be this. Or this. But that line must exist. At a minimum. And this line must exist. That could go up. This is a 2x2. This is a 2x... Well, this is a 5. This is a 6. So those are different. There can't be tons of places this can actually fit. Because that's going to have to do that to go around here. So then it could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It could go there. It could go there. It could go there. It could go there. It's just one of those, which is quite the set of options. If it were here, that would fit nicely there. But just because it fits nicely doesn't mean our logic is sound. Also, we still have this Z piece to deal with. Or an S piece. But they can rotate symmetrically, so could be either. If this does this, that can fill up the gap. This can't be a 2. There's a good thought. It could be a 3, and that could go like that. So maybe it's not a great thought. Can't be that, because it blocks that in. So we know that is at least true, as we've previously discussed. What else do I know? Because there might not be... I might need logic from somewhere else to get me over here. This line exists? This... Okay, let's do this. These lines all exist. These can be of the same shape. That line exists. We can lock all of that in. So this 4 is either 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can lock that line in, we can lock that line in. How can we draw this shape in what we have remaining? It's a fantastic question. Could be this. Could we do any kind of inverted version of that? It needs a 3 long piece with 1 coming out of the middle of that 3 long piece. It could be that, which would leave that as a 3. But interestingly, whichever way that goes, this piece is always associated with it. So this could either be that or that. This has to be these two and then one end of it, so we can draw that line in. This 3 has to either be this or that, so we can colour those 2 in as a minimum. That has to go there and there, because there's no other way to make these 2 pairs of 2 get out without touching one another. Alright, we're finding all kinds of little nuggets of logic here. This 4 can't go that way. So it can either go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's both of these have to be done, which means cut that line off there. It's a big puzzle. It's a big, big, big puzzle. That's for sure. I haven't even begun to think about all these Z-ish shapes yet. Where they might start and end. It could be that. But where does the next one go if it is? Well, let's look at these two. They have to be in the same zone. It needs to be 3 long with 1 extra. Can't be that. I think it has to be this. Because the way that it's oriented, this can't ever be part of that group. And if this is oriented any other way, it touches this. So then, if this isn't going to touch that, it would be this. Which means that would be viable. Is there any other way to do these? Can't do this. Can't do that. I think that does work, you know. And then this one. Where do we do this last one? There. Beautiful. Okay. Now, in a minute, this is all gonna wrap together like a delicious recipe made of disparate parts. This can either go over or under. This T could go up and over. So we don't know that yet. Okay, here's something. What does this piece exist as? Because it's not a 1, and it's not a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. It can't be a 3. It can't be a 4. And it can't be a 5. That's a problem, isn't it? Oh no. Well, fortunately, this corner is separate from all the other work we've done. So if we wipe those off for a second. This and this are different groups. So it can't go left. This can't come down or left, so it must go up. That's locked in. This can't go right or up, so it must go down. That's locked in. What does this become? Oh, we were probably fine because we can just hook this on one of the ends and then it's no longer a 5-piece. But it does mean that that's our 4, that's our 3. This has to be another 3 so that that can be a hook. Otherwise we end up with a 2 if this hooks the other way. Okay, we're getting some things. That makes that a 2. That makes this much more awkward. How do I shape that into there? Hold the phone. I can't do that because it has to go to both sides. That can go that way. That's how that shape fits in there. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And a hook. This has to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And a hook on one side eventually. That makes this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lock it in. That makes this 1, 2, 3, 4. That, lock it in. This has to absorb that because of this oneer here. This can't be a 2. How do we do this top corner? It's a hook. Okay. We are getting there. This one's felt really good. This has felt like mostly logic, no screwing things up. It was just finding this, and then these were already planned out like this. It's just locking in to this having the curve. So that's either going to go up or down. If it goes up, this doesn't fit. So I think that has to go down, and this has to go to there, or I could go to there. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could be either. But whichever way it goes, that's locked in. That's locked in. That's locked in. So that's going to be a either this or this. Okay, what else do we have? If this comes down, that has to go across. 1, 2, that gets too big. This can't be a 1. There's a great thing to think about. That can't be a 1, so that has to be at least a 3. Ooh, gross. Right, get me out of here. How do you exist? You can't be... Alright, get rid of all this corner, apart from obviously you. Because clearly... I think I'm happy with everything else, but I've messed up somewhere getting this to exist. This can't be a 1. Could it be that? And then this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, because then this doesn't exist. Huzzah! That makes it fit, doesn't it? Oh god! No! No, I don't love that development. Oh dear. Okay, screw that corner up again. This guy could still be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can't be this, because that traps that in. Oh, there's only a 4, excuse me. It can't be that, because this needs somewhere to go. So I think it's going to be this with that and that. This is just a big amorphous thing growing out of the corner. This has to go left, because if it goes up or down, we make a thing that we trap. Although that said, on reflection, that could be a oneer. Come on, we're so close. We probably won't do the sixer today, but we can definitely figure this out, he says. You seem to be able to go anywhere right now, as do you. So I feel like we need to go back to this top left corner. My current nemesis. This is a 1. This can't be a 1. Has to be a 2. Can't be a 2. Has to be at least a 3. Can't be a 3. Has to be at least a 4. Can't be a 4. Has to be at least a 5. Can't be a 5. Has to be at least a 6. Can't be a 6. Has to be at least a 7. Very clever, because I definitely didn't get that done the first time. So this guy, I think, can only exist like that. Now we're getting somewhere. This can't touch that, so this has to be... Hold on. This is a 3. That's a 3. But that can't be a 1, so that has to go up. That's a 2. No. This can't be a 1. And it can't be a 2. Oh, God! Wait. That can be as big as I want it to be. Then that can be a 2. That can be a 1. That can be a 2. And that grows up to fill the ending space. Lovely puzzle. Lovely, lovely puzzle. So it's just that 6 there. Doesn't look too big, but it looks like it wants to be difficult. And we're at 31 plus 2. I kind of like the idea, because everywhere that we've been, we've kind of left a puzzle or two. Like there's a couple of, there's like that guy, there's one under there. So I think I'm going to leave that one for what I will call our victory lap at the end. So we'll leave that 6er. I don't see any more motes of light for things I've missed. We saw the one in the windmill. Nothing down there. Nothing hiding under there. Alright, that's where we will call it for today. Join me next time. We'll start on whatever this region is going to be. For now, thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.